Hello, all you out there watching. My name is Dylan, and this is the first installment of my video series called Everyday Scientist. Yes, every day I'm going to be digging through science, technology, and health news to bring you the latest and the greatest. If you've ever watched the news, you know that the majority of screen time is devoted to crime stories, political stories, celebrity gossip, sports news, or the weather. Every day, I would claw at my Google News feed to get to the juicy science, technology, and health sections. I would be engrossed in every little story, often reading the same stories from multiple sources. But by the time the nightly news came on, I had read just about every headline. Nothing the talking heads could tell me was new at that point. But still, I yearned to hear about the amazing science news of the day come out of the speakers of my television. Instead of talking about revolutionary inventions or discoveries, a 10-minute discussion on Kim Kardashian's gluteus maximus or some other story of that type would find its way from the TV to my brain. I want to make the latest revolutionary concepts, inventions, discussions, and discoveries happening in the technology, science, and health fields accessible, and bring them to you much in the same way you might idly soak in information from the news. My goal is to enrich your life with the knowledge that humanity uncovers every day. To get your mind thinking about the possibilities of the future, as opposed to the possibilities of having some horrible thing happen to you that you need to tune into at 11 to prevent, and hopefully inspire you to discuss the topics yourself. This is Everyday Scientist, March 15th, 2015 edition. Today I'm going to discuss liquid metal motors, unsettling Barbies, astronaut glasses, chameleons skin changing, printing molecules, the effects of exercise on geriatrics, double chins, the latest Apple news, and Tesla news. Now, let's get to shooting some newsjicks into your cranium. News subjects. Newsjicks. Yeah. Liquid metal motors. Let me ask you a question. Do you like the idea of Terminators someday becoming a reality? Well, if you do, then this newsjack would give you a reason for uncontrollable laughter. A group of researchers from Tsinghua University in China have developed a self-propelled liquid metal motor that could help create a robot like T-1000, the robot seen in the widely acclaimed Hollywood movie Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Allegedly, the self-propelled liquid metal can power itself as well as change shapes. To create the liquid metal motor, researchers used an alloy of gallium called gallium. Gallium contained 68.5% gallium, 10% tin, and 21.5% indium. The alloy has a melting point of 19 degrees Celsius, which allows it to melt within room temperature. This simple chemical gains its incredible abilities when placed in a saltwater solution. When an electrical current is applied, the material can even make complex shapes, then turn back into a small droplet once the energy is removed. Jing Liu, one of the researchers involved in the project, even said, "The soft machine looks rather intelligent and can deform itself according to the spaces it voyages in, much like the Terminator does from the science fiction film. These unusual behaviors perfectly resemble the living organisms in nature." Well, on one hand, they could be put to any number of great uses, like unlocking pipe drains or delivering medicine inside a human bloodstream. On the other hand, they could be used for the extermination of the human race. Only time will tell. But how unsettling. Speaking of unsettling things, our next topic is under the weird news category. The topic is unsettling Barbies, or more specifically, the Hello Barbie doll coming out this fall. Perhaps when the Chinese's T-1000s have driven humanity underground, and as a species we look back on the past, this doll will be remembered as the eyes and ears our future robot overlords use to figure out our weaknesses. While admittedly kind of a cool idea, the Hello Barbie doll comes off more like something you would see possessed in the movie series Child's Play than something you would want to give as a gift. While children might enjoy having a toy that listens in response to them, parents are also concerned about what this could mean for their children's privacy. Mattel, the company that makes Barbie, partnered with San Francisco startup company Toy Talk to integrate voice recognition technology into the dolls in an attempt to boost Barbie sales. With her built-in microphone and Wi-Fi connection, Hello Barbie listens to what her owner says and is able to carry on a limited conversation, even remembering earlier comments to make new suggestions. Parents and privacy advocates are concerned about the kinds of data Hello Barbie could potentially mine from kids, especially given how much personal information a child tends to confide in their dolls. That means you, little Susie. Of course, Maddle says safety and security are a huge priority, and Hello Barbie sends parents daily or weekly status reports about what their kids are saying. Yes, no need to listen to your kids or talk to them. Barbie can handle it. And then you can voyeuristically soak in your 4-year-old's ramblings about the good of purple to a doll at your leisure. Actually, come to think of it, this thing may catch on after all. Speaking of privacy concerns, remember when everyone was either drooling over or freaking out about Google Glasses and augmented reality? Well, it turns out the smart guys over at NASA think something like that would be pretty swell for astronauts. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station will soon be sporting smart glasses designed by Alsterhaus Design Group, or ODG for short. The glasses will be provided for training purposes on Earth and for use as a hands-free device display in space. The smart glasses will run on Google's Android Jelly Bean software as well as ODG's Reticle OS operating system and will feature 3D stereoscopic displays which are capable of HD resolution and will integrate military-grade technologies. According to sources at NASA, the glasses will provide astronauts with the ability to overlay digital markers on images of equipment in order to record progress made during repairs or remind the space traveler not to remove certain pieces. The image projected from the glasses appears to the wearer as equivalent to viewing a 55-inch screen at a distance of about 8 feet. The availability of an electronic checklist in the glasses will allow the astronaut to track off their activities without using their hands. And if I learned anything from the movie The Right Stuff, it's that astronauts are pretty big into their checklists, so I can see how this might become a big deal for space people. If you're one of those types who dreads the thought that if smart glasses like the one NASA wants to use become popular, that your every moment could be being recorded, then you're probably envious of the humble chameleon, whose ability to camouflage its skin with its surroundings has generated a sense of wonder and fascination throughout history. I hope in the future I would be able to become seemingly invisible to this future army of video recorders, you might be saying to yourself right now. Well, rest assured, put down the tinfoil hat and listen up. Scientists studying chameleons have discovered that the secret behind the animal's color-changing abilities lies not purely on skin pigments, but rather on what's called structural color. When objects that might be observed as one color at a larger scale are taken down to a nanoscale, the color of the object will be observed at may change due to the properties of the chemical structure of said object. For instance, at the nanoscale, gold appears red. Many scientists assumed that the animal's speedy shade shifting came from moving pigments around inside of cells called chromatophores. But Milinkovic and the other colleagues who discovered the animal's method doubted that explanation. Pigments, including the ones that we have in our own skin and hair, typically work by absorbing most colors of visible light except one. So a red pigment absorbs most of the wavelengths of visible light and only lets the red wavelengths bounce off its surface. But chameleons also have things called iridophores, cells that manufacture color in a very different way. Instead of absorbing light, they use structural color, harnessing a surface's nanoscale geometry to force certain wavelengths of light to bend or bounce in specific ways. The scientists identified 2 layers of skin with iridophores, and the ones in the top layer were filled with tiny nanocrystals of guanine arranged into a lattice formation with very precise spacing between each crystal. The spacing, it turned out, was the key. The scientists took excited skin samples from male chameleons who were showing off to each other, and they found that the guanine crystals were spaced much farther apart than they had been in the not excited state. Each color of visible light has a different wavelength. Blues are on the short end, and reds are on the long end, with other colors arranged in between. So when the guanine crystals have short spaces between them, they reflect bluer wavelengths. When the crystals are spaced farther apart, they reflect the longer wavelengths. Combined with yellow pigment cells called called xanthophores, in the skin, the blues can be seen as greens and the reds as oranges, or it could just be seen as plain old yellow. There was also a second layer of skin filled with larger, less organized crystals. These seem to be very good at reflecting near-infrared light, which in hot, dry environments is probably a key survival mechanism to avoid overheating. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, that's fine and all, but that won't keep me hidden from the smart glasses horde. Well, good news. Engineers at the University of California, Berkeley have developed a new chameleon-like synthetic skin material capable of changing color with just the lightest touch. The incredibly thin, multicolored material needs nothing more than a minute amount of force to trigger the color change. The material includes very precise structures which interact with a specific wavelength of light, and when the dimensions of the structure are altered, the change in color took effect. Researchers behind the new color-changing material also successfully managed to select the range of hues that the material would reflect based on how it was flexed and bent. Another recently invented technology seemingly ripped from the world of science fiction into our reality was the 3D printer. Popular commentary on the technology claimed everything from that it would kill jobs and allow people to make weapons in their basement, to that it would print out organs for transplant and deliver us to a future of fully customizable products. While the technology used to be in its infancy, it's growing up fast. New research published in the March 13, 2015 issue of the academic journal Science claims researchers at the Howard Hughes Corp Medical Institute in Illinois have come up with a new 3D printer that helps in simplifying chemical synthesis of small organic molecules. A small molecule 3D printer. This team, led by Martin Burke, a researcher at the University of Illinois, has synthesized 14 distinct classes of small molecules from a common set of building blocks with an automated system. The team believes the system will eventually enable the production of thousands of different molecules with a single machine. The current method for synthesizing small molecules is time-consuming and not available to most chemists. Burke notes that the current process to obtain small molecules is quite slow. He said, every time you make a molecule, you have to develop a unique strategy. That customization is slow. Furthermore, it requires expertise. Currently, he said, you have to have a high degree of training in synthesis to make small molecules. He also said a lot of great medicines have not been discovered yet because of this synthesis bottleneck. Now, plants, animals, and bacteria all produce many small molecules with protein-like functions. Burke argues that with some chemical modification, it may be possible to optimize a few of these natural processes to help replace the missing proteins to restore patients' health. The scientists learned from nature to improve the synthesis of the molecules they were studying, and have now developed a more general approach. Burke said, nature makes most small molecules the same way. They're a kind of small number of building blocks that are coupled together over and over again using the same kind of chemistry in an iterative fashion. Given that small molecules are naturally modular, Burke and his team analyzed the chemical structures of thousands of different natural products to identify the basic patterns. He said, there are building blocks that appear over and over again, and we've been able to dissect out the building blocks that are most common. The small molecule 3D printer takes these building blocks and snaps them together like pop beads with a standard chemical reaction. And they have already synthesized 14 different small molecules, from relatively straightforward linear structures to complex folded molecules with multiple chemical rings, such as proteins, for instance. According to Burke, the vision is that anybody could go to a website, pick the building blocks they want, instruct their assembly through the web, and the small molecules would get synthesized and shipped to them. He explained, we're not there yet, but we now have an actionable roadmap towards on-demand small molecule synthesis for non-specialists. In my opinion, once this technology matures, it could become something of a scientific Swiss Army knife. Inventors, scientists, engineers, and hobbyists alike could make all sorts of novel chemicals and materials and find uses for them. Titans of industry and small businesses alike could print out en masse chemical copies of molecules which today are extremely laborious and costly in both money and time to obtain. Not to sound like the throngs of 3D printer fanboys, but I seriously think this technology might be revolutionary, in the it might cause a new industrial revolution sort of revolutionary way. In a paper that appeared in the journal Neurology, researchers found that people who were physically active did not have a drop-off in their movement abilities even when they had high levels of brain damage. According to study author Deborah A. Fleischman from the Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, these results underscore the importance of efforts to encourage a more active lifestyle in older people to prevent movement problems, which is a major public health challenge. You see, many older people have small areas of damage in their brains seen on magnetic resonance imaging as white matter hyperintensities. Higher levels of this type of damage have been linked to more problems with movement, such as difficulty walking. Older people who go for morning walks and mild exercises, according to the paper, protect themselves from the effects of small areas of brain damage that can affect their movement abilities. Another problem facing people as they age that can be positively affected by exercise is double chins. But, thanks to a new medicine, you might not need to lift a finger, or have a single surgery to take care of those unsightly double chins. The drug, an injectable substance that dissolves fat under the chin, was unanimously recommended for approval by a Food and Drug Administration Advisory Committee, but it's still awaiting final approval from the agency. It's a version of deoxycholic acid, a naturally occurring molecule in the body that aids in the breakdown of dietary fat, according to its manufacturer, Cathera Biopharmaceuticals. They're calling it ATX-101 right now. It disrupts the fat cell, said Dr. Derek Jones, who gave Cathera's presentation to the FDA on Monday. When it disappears permanently. Jones explained that the drug destroys the fat cell's membrane, causing it to burst. What remains of the fat cell is absorbed back into the body via normal metabolic pathways, he said. Don't go giving up on diets and exercise just yet, though, because the drug isn't effective on large areas of fat, such as the abdomen. You're still going to have to work off those pounds, people. Those of you who thoroughly enjoy exercise and who obsessively track their progress, do I have some news for you. The Apple Watch is going to have health app functionalities. Another hyped and highly talked about Apple product is what's being called Project Titan, and many believe it will be Apple's first foray into the electric car market. So soon, you could be having a conversation on your iPhone while the alarm you set goes off on your iWatch while you're driving down the highway in your iCar. Imagine that. Now, speaking of electric cars, you've probably heard of the Tesla Model S. The electric vehicle maker, Elon Musk, is teasing a media event on March 19th where the company will end range anxiety for Model S owners through an over-the-air software update. Now, you might not know this, but Elon Musk is a personal hero of mine. Since I first heard about it, I've fantasized about owning a Tesla Model S, and March 19th is my birthday. So this announcement, while not technically amazing news, is an amazing coincidence of interests of mine. For those who don't know, range anxiety is the fear that you'll travel too far and find yourself stranded by the side of the road in your electric vehicle. Sources speculate that this could mark the official rollout of the Torque Sleep update, which lets dual-motor models such as the 85D and the P85D save energy when you're not mashing the throttle. However, Musk said that all Model S cars will get the update. Whatever it is, the truth will be revealed soon. At the end of each Everyday Scientist, I like to ask my audience a what-if question to stimulate your minds and see what my audience thinks about certain things. Today's question involves those 3D printers we talked about earlier, which are so full of potential. What if, in the future, someone created a printout novel injectable organelle for the human cell, which, like chloroplasts, could harness radiant energy and convert it into fuel? What if the chemicals these organelles use to convert radiant energy into something else could be manipulated like the replica chameleon skin material we talked about earlier, so that they could absorb different wavelengths? What if these different wavelengths included wavelengths which are harmful to the human biology, such as those which cause radiation damage leading to cancer or death for people such as astronauts exposed to space radiation? What if these organelles could be manipulated by forces from technology such as the smart glasses or Apple Watch? Is it possible that one day human beings may be able to not only shield themselves from radiation without the use of expensive shielding or sci-fi technology like force fields or something, but also be able to convert that radiation into fuel that might extend the duration of expeditions and reduce food costs for voyages in space? Well, maybe, maybe not. I'm not a fortune teller, but the possibilities are fun to think about. That's it for today's installment of Everyday Scientist. All episodes, installments, or videos of Everyday Scientist are researched, written, videoed, directed, and edited by Dylan Sherman, yours truly. If you liked the video, please subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment. Hope to see you next time.